So, I don't think I can really say that I've recovered from my burnout on this deck as well as I just did tonight. I have finally broken the dry streak. After 17 months, I finally won another local tournament. And of course, picked myself up a Sunday local win, which is generally the more competitive one. The Thursday one's more fun one. This one's a bit more competitive. And I managed to take the win with a modified ClownDoll deck. It was based, for the most part, around the Hoban build. I mean, obviously, I did change up a few things to just sort of suit the way that I wanted to run the deck. But the whole sort of, I don't know, maybe concept of the list obviously came from the achievements that Hoban did in YTS Dallas, and that's what sort of and those choices as well were actually pretty damn solid. Obviously, I did make a few modifications to it to just suit my play style, as I said before. I'll just get on with the list. So I'm playing the standard, well, I suppose you could say standard 10 Shaddolls, which is the 3 Squagmatter, 2 Beast, 2 Falco, 2 Hedgehog, and the 1 Dragon. The one thing I can definitely disagree on is that Dragon really doesn't suck that much. I mean, I suppose if you're looking at a more meta sort of standpoint, like if you're going to a YCS, then maybe Dragon's not that great. But I saw a considerable amount of back row just because it is locals and you're more likely to find Rogue. So Dragon definitely helped out quite a lot. He was really just, he's really just much better in local settings. So my use of him was very much vindicated. Well, at least the way I used him in the tournament. Played the 3 damage juggler and the 2 clowns. No hat trickers. I can definitely understand why he'd consider why people would consider hat tricker to be kind of crummy in this deck. So I stuck with the clown and the jugglers. The reason I went for the 3 juggler is to just prevent being hit for damage. Particularly when like go to time. Like if I was going to go into time, I'd probably be like, maybe side the 3rd juggler back in, because I usually side one of those out unless I don't have that many sides, in which case I'd usually keep it in. But yeah, hat tricker, not really that great. I mean, if you like, I had the same sort of mentality with my Clown Blade deck, that Hoban did when he went through his list, is that hat trick is really not that great to open up with. So I just elected not to play it. I basically just went with the same sort of shtick there. It could have been good for, going for Shekinaga, but Shekinaga wasn't even that much of a necessity. Like, over the course of the tournament, I never actually, I think I may have dropped it once, and it wasn't even that great. So, enough talking about fusions and stuff like that. I actually did test out the 1 copy of Thousand Blades and just not run anything else in the heroic engine. Just because I am running the warrior engine sort of setup. I was actually considering a second Raiden. In some situations, it might not have been a bad idea to have the second Raiden, but just for room issues, I opted to just run with the 1 for today. Thrasher, really good. If you open like one of these in Rota or open just both of them, that right there is a Tsukiyomi, which is really solid. Blazeman was very good. He's a very easy side out as well, along with the Poly. So I was quite happy with the way he worked out. I don't see myself switching out any of these. Then I have the BLS. I saw this a godly amount of times. This is probably I would probably rate this as my MVP, to be perfectly honest, because I just couldn't stop seeing it. I actually did a test match before the tournament started. I actually saw this against, like I was playing against a friend who was just playing Mermails. I saw this in all 3 games, opened with it in 2 of those games, and basically just went ham with it. And that's pretty much what happened for the entirety of the tournament. That's what I did. So for the one major difference between Hoban's build and mine is that I run with the triple effect Veiler. Obviously, Denko is not really that big of a thing to me. but I'd rather just have this in the situations where I would have, back row floodgates and stuff like that. Just so that I've got at least something to, stop their other plays. Maybe not necessarily, stop them from doing like searches or anything like that. Because usually if they make Denko, they're going to go for a big solid play. So this is where I just drop the Veiler and just tell them that they just can't do that. And then from there, the Denko is not that difficult to get over. So that was my reasoning for the triple Veiler. It was very, very solid. I only cited it out against Qliphort, so I played that twice today. And for the spells, played the triple Upstart Goblin. It's Upstart Goblin. 3 of each fusion, which I suppose now includes instant fusion. I didn't actually go for Winder a whole lot of the time because I found myself in situations where I didn't really need it. The theory is great. I mean, obviously that's why you run this. I mean, that plus Norton. But I saw this a lot of the time. It's just all kinds of friggin' amazing to see this. It would not surprise me to just see instant fusion just immediately get smashed to 1 on the next list, because in decks like this, it really just can turn games. It's really kind of a sack card. 2 Rotor for the Warrior Engine. The 1 Foolish. I actually had to put this in. I was actually considering Raigeki or something like that. I actually had to kind of find some room to put this thing in since I really, really wanted to see it. And when I did see it or open with it, it was really, really good. Especially like just that, like this card in itself can deck thin by 3 just by sending Squamata, which sends Beast or Hedgehog, and then searches or draws. Then the last spell I played was Polymerization. The one thing that I can definitely say I'd like to do differently with this deck is to possibly run either a Refusion or a Soul Charge. The only benefit I'd get from Refusion is that I'd be able to attack, and like it's a bit more restrictive because you can only summon Fusion monsters. But in this deck that just basically spams Fusion monsters, provided you have Fusions to play, of course, that's obviously not going to be that big of a deal. I'm actually kind of surprised that I didn't clog too much on the 7 fusion spells. But then again, I guess if I played enough matches, I probably would end up clogging up a bit. But again, this is a very easy side out for games 2 and 3. It's usually one of the first cards I side out along with Blaze Man, because it's not entirely necessary. It's just sort of an extra way to fuse stuff. My only 2 traps were a core and a vanities. Unlike in previous builds, I never really found myself needing the second core. Maybe once or twice it would have been nice, but again, I think it was more of a lack of monster revival as opposed to a lack of a second core that really stopped me from doing some plays. And vanities is vanities. I didn't see it a whole lot, but when I did see it, it was great. Moving on now to the extra deck. The very stock standard triple construct plus the 2 Winder. Might not be a bad idea to play 3 Winder, but I am that tight on space in this extra deck that it really isn't that needed. I don't think 3 Winder is ever needed in a Shadow deck at all. Unless it's in a meta where it's just geared towards spam special summoning and you just need to use Winder. It's just that it would just be that great in that sort of situation. But we're not really in that sort of a situation, except for maybe Kozmo, because that's probably going to pick up in the next set. But yeah, who knows? By the time the next set comes out, we probably already have the next list, and this deck will probably be long dead. So played 1 Shek, 1 Anoyatelis. I never saw Anoyatelis throughout the tournament. I did drop it in, or actually no, I actually did drop Anoyatelis once in the tournament. I dropped these once each, and truth be told, they both kind of sucked. In all honesty, they were both in my round 1 matchup, which was the only loss I had, and that one I'm still kind of wondering what the fuck went on, but it was the one slight hiccup in an otherwise successful day. And I'd usually side the Shekinaga out because the only way I make Shekinaga in this list is through core. Same thing with the Noyatilis, although I suppose now I could easily just do Norden. Again, 2 Norden. You don't need 3. Norden just does a whole bunch of shit, and you can be happy with it. For the Exceeds, play the Exciton Knight. Tsukuyomi was absolutely savage. If you're not running this, I recommend that you do so. In the situations where you don't really like, it's not like an absolutely common occurrence to see this thing, but when you do, and you discard your shadow cards, you just generate so much out of it. Like, I won a couple of my games just because of the presence that just because of the advantage I generated from Tsukuyomi. That's the word I'm looking for, advantage. This thing is brilliant. The only thing that kind of saddens me is that this is an ultra. Completely irrelevant, but card is good. I definitely want to get an ulti of it, just because it's that savage. Then I played the Kangorgan. Basically, the idea is to redirect floodgates, and that's literally it. Aside from that, it can be a beat stick. Nobody played Necros at my locals, so its other purpose couldn't possibly be served. It's basically a way to get over Unicore, or a more generic way to get over Unicore. You can just use it in each level 4s, because the only other out is the Trapeze Magician, and you need spellcasters to use that. Trapeze Magician was great. I got OTK off twice in the tournament. Did it in top 4, and I also did it in the second round to win the second round match. So Trapeze Magician was very solid. I did a fair bit of damage with him. I actually did this to get Tsukuyomi a double attack, because I got the double attack. I actually got the Tsukuyomi off and basically just swung with all that and put a lot of damage on board. So this is pretty happy. And then don't really say too much about Castel now, can we? And then last monster I played is the Stardust Dragon, the only level 8 synchro that the only synchro that I'm running in the main deck. I actually have, for the first time in, I imagine, quite a while, have actually side decked extra deck cards, and we're going to start off with those, and that's going to be Diamond Ptolemaeus, Stardust Spark Dragon. Stardust Spark Dragon was, again, basically another layer of protection for my floodgates. And I'm actually quite thankful because, this came out in High Speed Riders, so now we can freaking use it after all this goddamn time. Now I just need to go and get an Ultra one, because I really need an Ultra one. Not really, but I want one, so screw it. Spud Knights and Diamond. I sided this in against Infernoids, which is my top 8 matchup. I never needed it because Iron Wall just did the trick for that, as you imagine it would, without the MSTs. 2 Denko. I never sided this in any matchup. I'm actually surprised. Most of the matchups I played a couple of Qlis, I played a Speedroid, I played a Blue Eyes deck, I played a Red Eyes deck, I played, what else? I played some rank up deck, and I also played Kozmo. I think the only deck that Denko would be really great against is Kozmo, and even then, it really isn't. So Denko was easily the most useless one, because I never actually sided it in for any matchup whatsoever. Absolutely any matchup. It was the one card that I did not side in anything. Shadow Dragon, on the other hand, saw a lot of siding. The second Shadow Dragon. So it was actually quite good, just popping some stuff. Even making bad plays with it. Send the dragon to just blind dragon pop stuff. I think I did that and I hit... what? So I think it was like a bottomless or something. Solid. Raigeki side. And I actually still saw this. I think I saw it against Infernoids, and then I just pushed for a massive amount of damage and took. I think it was the third game actually. I just managed to get over and just top deck the Raigeki. It was really good. It helped me just get more damage on board. The single copy of Galaxy Cyclone. This thing was absolutely clutch in the final match against Kozmo. This and the MSTs actually. I would also side these against Qliphorts, and anything that I felt was capable of running either Light or Shadow Mirror. So these came in a lot. But basically 2 points in the game. In the match I was playing against Kozmo, final match. He would set a back row. First time, I immediately topped the Galaxy Cyclone, and then the second time, I immediately topped the MST. And managed to get them, get the back row out of the way. And basically, I just pushed. I just basically developed the first construct, and then made the second construct. Not long afterward, and then basically just kept pushing for that damage. And that won me the game. That won me that game. That was a really, really good. That was the game 2, and I ended up taking the match from there. So 3 mistake, never saw it. 3 copies, and I never feckin' saw it, except for the one moment where I in game 2 against Qliphort round 5, I milled this with a Raiden. It was kind of sad. But yeah, it's a mistake. I sided in against Qliphort. I don't think any of my other matchups really needed the mistake to be sided in, because you know, thing. And then lastly is the double Iron Wall. Iron Wall, obviously doing quite the number against Infernoids, and of course sided it in against Kozmo, but I never saw it against that matchup. So that was what that was. So let me go ahead and line up my 5 main deck Shadow Monsters while I go through the tournament reports. A very successful one at that. Round 1 was my only loss, and would you believe it? I actually lost to Speedroid. I lost to a Speedroid deck that managed to grind me out of resources, and then basically push with a Kendama that just kept bringing itself back. He also got missed Wormhole a couple of times. It was a very slow game, and I just ran out of resources and couldn't keep up after that. So I actually lost that 2-0. Aside from that, every other round was a win, just from there all the way to the last round. So round 2, I played against Blue Eyes. It was generic. I basically just pushed for damage game 1, OTK'd in game 2. Round 3, I played against rank ups. Construct was very good at getting over Honorarch, because Honorarch was basically the focus of the rank up deck, because C101 is actually pretty savage now when you think about it, if you can make him, that is. So that was a bit of a thing. I basically just pushed over with Construct, just kept doing that. Didn't see any of his rank ups, so C101 was not in fact a thing. So I managed to push that over for a 2-0 win. Round 4, I played against the Red Eyes deck, and I can't even remember. I can't remember a whole lot about it. It went by pretty quickly. He was just another casual player, really, so I ended up winning that 2-0. And then I played against Qliphort round 5, someone more of a casual sort of Qliphort player. I basically just ground out his resources game 1. Game 2, he just kept using Carrier and just kept my monsters off board and just kept swinging for damage. And then game 3, I went in for almost the OTK. I basically put a good maybe like 7k damage on board, and that was enough to savage him in that match. So that was 4-1. What the hell am I putting these away for? So it was 4-1 after Swiss, and then top 8 match was Infernoid. I got rinsed game 1 just because Omega does stuff and banishes my shit. He banished, out of 3 users of Omega that game, he banished the Shadow Fusion twice, which really kind of sucked, and so he just pushed with Omega and a Tondor. Game 2, he did pretty much the same thing, but I managed to get an Iron Wall online and then just ran over the Omega. From there, I basically just maintained Construct presence and then just pushed for game. And then game 3, I Iron Walled, but I had it sent back by Antra. And then by the time the Iron Wall was back and ready to, by the time I was able to set the Iron Wall and get it ready to go again, that turn, I managed to put enough damage on board to not quite kill him, but he was out of resources, and like the fact of the matter is he needed to summon an Infernoid, and I was not going to let him do that because I was just immediately going to Iron Wall. So that won me that match. I then played against Qliphort's round in a different Qliphort deck in top 4. Game 1, I OTK'd him. Like, he actually went first, and like I took second, obviously, because I won the coin toss. So I took second. He one day of peace. So I just went passively that turn, and then the following turn OTK'd him. Game 2, I had too many shadows in hand and just no fusion spells. And so when I finally did get an extra deck monster on the board, he went double carrier, tributed them off for shell, and basically swung for shell, and just pretty much put me out of commission there. Game 3, I just kept Scout off his board. He would most of the time he would get Scout, but then I usually get rid of it before it became too much of a threat, and then basically I just pushed over him for a lot of damage. That's basically how Game 3 worked out. And so I took that 1-2-1. And then lastly, in the final match against Kozmo, Construct does a lot of stuff. I basically just kept spamming Construct to get over the Slip Riders and Forerunners, and basically just push him out of resources. And Dragon as well came in very handy at keeping his back row clear. And then of course that Game 2, the Game 1 I actually won because of BLS, because I managed to just push too many monsters out into his graveyard without him being able to do anything. And then Game 2, I had the Dragons, and then I also had the Cyclone and the MST top deck to just completely clear his to ensure his back row is empty whenever I attacked him. So I basically just pushed with double Construct for the game, and he pretty much said as soon as I had the second Construct on the board, he pretty much said that was enough from there, and picked his cards up. So that was, all in all, a very successful tournament for me. If this is the last time I play Shadows before it gets hit, which I'm not going to rule that out, because, we could be seeing a ban list anytime within the next week. I don't know. I feel like it's going to happen at some point in the next week. Then I guess it would be a good way to go out. But we're just going to have to wait and see what the future has in store for us. Until then, see you for whatever it is I do next. And a great huzzah for this long-ass bloody... Geez, 22 minutes. Yeah, should probably stop lollygagging. But yeah, huzzah for finally breaking that long-ass drought, because it's finally good. Because even if it is a locals, it's good to win a local. So, yeah.